Yeah. So if you want to create a new observable out of an existing observables, then you will use something called pipe. Okay. And suppose if your observables return something, you need to do some massaging and return some value back. Okay. In such a scenario, you will be using something called map. So if you just do this dot name dollar dot pipe of map of operator, this map you will be importing from RxJS. Okay. And uh, yeah. And what is the name value here? What is the value of name here?
Angular class teaching.
Yeah, it will take the value of whatever the observable is stored. Okay. Angular class teaching. Okay, and we are taking that Angular class teaching and we are appending just the percentage and we are returning it back. So now what will the tab will take the value? The latest value emitted from the map will be taken by tab. Here what will be the name value? What will be the name value in the tab here?
Previous one.
Sorry?
Name 67
What is
will
this?
be added to Anusha tab operator.
This will be
67 will be
returned
added.
here, right? This will be returned here. This is just for our understanding. I have given this. Why we use console logs? This is just for our understanding. This is not the value of the name. What I said, whatever is returned from the name will be stored here, right? What is returned from here? What is the name value? What is the name value?
Angular
Angular class teaching.
Okay. Now what is the name value here? Angular class teaching. Now what will be returned?
Angular class percentage.
Percentage. Now what will be sent to the name here?
Angular class teaching percentage.
Correct. Why you people are getting doubts? Angular class teaching percentage will be there. Okay. So what I'm trying, whatever the latest value emitted from the map will be taken up by tab. Okay. Suppose if I just do it in a reverse way, tab is used for doing nothing. If we doesn't want to return anything from an observable, right, you will be using the tab operator from RxJS. Okay. Now what will be taken here in the name?
Anusha class teach.
Anusha class teaching will be taken here. Now what will be taken here in the map?
Same Anusha class teaching.
Yeah, Anusha class teaching. But what will be returned to this observable to?
And Anusha class teaching percentage.
Correct.
Percentage.
Okay. So suppose if you just subscribe to it, right, you will be seeing Angular class teaching percentage. What are subjects?
It is like behavioral subjects.
Yeah. So there is difference between subjects and behavior subject. What are those?
In subjects, there is no need to give any default value. In subject only by using subscribe, we'll get the value of the subject.
Okay.
Can store the value of subject by using this dot new subject dollar dot next.
Okay. So subjects are also like observables. Okay. The only difference between behavior subject and subject is that we cannot we need not to give any default value. Okay, and if you want to access the value of an subject, what you will do, you will just use subscribe method. But if you want to access a behavior subject, if you want to get the current value, you can just do it by using dot value method. Am I correct? Then if you want to save
Yes.
any value to an subject, what you will do, you will use dot next object. Same will be applied for both of them. Okay, that's the difference between the behavior subject and subject. Okay, then what else I have told in the previous class?
Template driven form.
Yeah, I have told about template driven forms. So there are how many types of forms available in Angular?
2 types.
What are they?
Reactive forms, template driven forms.
Reactive forms and template driven forms. Okay, template driven forms always use what?
NG
ng form. What is used for ngif? ngif is
uses
a
NG
structural
model.
directive, right?
Yes, NG model.
Yeah. So if you want to identify any what is the template driven form, right? You use something called ng form. Okay, this is used for indicating that it's a template driven form, and you will be having what form control names and everything, right? In case of reactive form model, here you will be containing something called ng module, which is used for binding the data. Okay, suppose if anybody asks you template driven forms, there are only two things to indicate. One is it will use ng form, and the second thing is in the input boxes it uses ng model. Okay, the best use case when to use this forms is for example, whenever you are creating a table, inside table if you contain any drop down or forms, in such a scenarios you will be using the template driven forms. Okay, that is the concept of this template driven forms. And what else I have told? I have told about regex patterns. Am I correct? So regex patterns are nothing but, suppose if there is one text box and if you want to enter some data. For example, if you are signing in or signing up for an email, it will ask you to follow some regex, right? At least one number should be there, at least one character should be there, this much length only should be there, and it should always include at the rate, and .com should be always there, like that. For such kind of giving the patterns, we use something called regex. Okay, for example, common pattern. Okay, and we will just give numbers. So you can see it, right? So here there is one form control mobile number. There is one input box. Its form control name is mobile number. Here we are telling this mobile number should follow the pattern of having numbers, which means that it will follow only the regex of these numbers. Suppose if you enter any alphabets and all, whether it will be valid or invalid. If you are entering the alpha numerics, whether it's valid
Invalid.
or invalid.
Invalid.
Okay, now this is the syntax to tell that it will accept only these values. Okay, it will contains these quotations and it will contain these braces. Okay, and we are telling it will accept the numbers from 0 to 9. That is the meaning of this 0-9. Suppose if you remove this hyphen, the meaning is that in that input box only zeros and 9 number are allowed. Okay, if you are giving hyphen, which means that 0 to 9 numbers are allowed, which means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 can be allowed. Okay, now what is the meaning of this?
It will only accept small alphabets, capital alphabets, and numbers.
And one more, space.
Space.
Okay, it will accept small a to z letters, capital A to z letters, 0 to 9 numbers, and the space. Okay, now what is this will accept? Shilpa? Suppose if there is an input box and we are giving the pattern for that input box is name type. Now what characters can I enter into that input box?
Small a to z, capital A to z, and the
space, and you should tell till the brace ends. Okay, till the brace ends, whatever were there can be entered into the text box. Okay, after space, what is there?
$1 symbol also.
This one,
Dots.
dot is allowed, then
Comma also is there.
comma is allowed, then quotation is allowed,
Quotation and
and
hyphens.
hyphen is allowed. Did you understand the concept?
Yeah.
Now tell me this thing, if we give any input box with the pattern type alphanumeric with colon, now what characters will be allowed to enter into the text box?
Small a to z, then
Okay.
capital, and number also from 0 to 9,
Okay,
and colon also.
correct. Okay, and anyone wants to try for this? Saujanya, if you want.
Yes, small a to z and capital A to Z and numbers 0 to 9 and a hyphen
And then underscore and
underscore.
okay. Now what are allowed here? Anyone? Okay, 0 to 9 numbers.
0 to 9 and dot.
And dot.
This is how the regex works. Suppose if they are complex, right? Just Google it and give it here. This is what I have done. This is what I have written there. These are all written. Sorry. Okay. Now what all concepts I told? Anyone remember anything? Yesterday's class recording didn't get saved. I don't know why. That's why I'm saying again and I am recording them. Okay.
You also told about NG.
NG
NG
switch.
switch.
Okay. So when we normally use the switch condition, when we have one input value, based on the input value, we'll have different cases, right? Case 1, case 2, case 3, whichever follows that particular case, that will be returned. Am I correct? So even it's same in case of HTML. Okay, ng switch in the HTML. So you will contain one switch expression, whereas the switch value, okay, and you will have this HTML element. It can be any element, one div element or one heading element. Suppose if this switch expression matches this case, ng switch case, then this particular HTML element will get rendered on the web page. Suppose if none of them will match, case 1, case 2, case 3, then default whatever switch case is there will be rendered in the web page. Okay. Any doubts, Shilpa? Any doubts?
No, Anusha.
Okay. This is switch case. And in the ng do check, we have one important lifecycle hook, which is ng after view init. Okay. So when we use this ng after view init, no, view means what? HTML file, right? Am I correct? View means whatever you are seeing in the screen, what you will see in the screen, all the HTML tags, right? Whenever the view of the particular component initiated, meaning whenever the view we were able to see, then this ng on after view init lifecycle hook will get triggered. In this, suppose if you want, if there is some reference you can give. For example, if you want to give any reference, you will give something called hash and some data. Okay, suppose if you want to access this, how can you do it? You will be using one decorator called @viewChild decorator. Okay, and you can access the view. Okay. suppose if you want to access this Anusha's value, right? Imagine if it's a input box, okay, and you want to access this, then when you can access this element, whenever the view of the component is initiated, then you can access this Anusha reference, okay, that particular input box reference. For that, you will be using ng after view init lifecycle hook. Any doubts, anyone? Any doubt? Just tell us or no.
No, Anusha.
Yeah, this is the ng after view init. We actually don't use ng do check, okay? Why? Because we will, for example, let us have ng do check lifecycle hook, okay? And what happens, when these on changes will trigger, when there is a change in the input data received from parent, when ng on init will get triggered, whenever the component is initiated, it will be triggered only once. Am I correct? Suppose when this ng do check will be created, right? Suppose you have a component like this, okay? Imagine this is one component, this is one component, this is one component. Even if you click on this component, since some event has happened in this component, the ng do check in this component will be keep on triggering. So for any changes in the web page, it will be keep on triggering. Whenever that particular component is keep on triggering, right? What will happen? The screen will freeze. Okay, so that's why it's not recommended to use the ng do check, and in the rare cases only we will use this. Like whenever we have our own algorithm to implement and all, we will be using this ng do check. Okay, otherwise we will not be using this. Any doubts? No, right? Okay. Let me go to next step in the routing, okay? And yeah, you might have seen somewhere like this. Yeah. So what is this meaning is that, what is the main path here? What is the path here?
AP review.
AIP review. So what happens whenever we are giving the AIP review path, then which component will get rendered?
AIP
AP
review.
review.
AIP review component
Review
will
component
get
will
rendered.
get rendered.
Correct. Suppose if our path, it can also contain the children for this component. For example, it can be like AIP review / okay, and product in the particular, what is that? In the particular navigate URL. Okay. For example, I'll just show you. You are seeing something like this, right? Which means that we have the parent as AIP review, and the next path will be product, which means that this product component is the child component. That's why we will give something called children tag. In that, if the path is product, then hit this component. If the path is customer, then hit this component. Now tell me, how many child paths are here?
3.
3. Suppose if it's an empty, okay, then by default it will load this AIP review component only. Okay. Suppose if I give AIP review / product, which component will be hit?
AIP
Product
review.
AIP review product component.
If we give AIP review / customer,
AP
AIP
review
review customer component.
so instead of giving, instead of giving like this, like path review / product, then component AIV product. Instead of explicitly specifying like this, what you can do, you can just have one path for the parent, and for the children, you can just specify your children tag, and you can specify the path and which component to get rendered. Any doubts, anyone? Any doubts?
Anusha.
And I was telling you, the root routing module will have for root, whereas other routing modules will contain for child. So what will happen? We will be importing one router module from the Angular, okay? And this router module will contain all the information related to routing, okay? And whenever we add any routes, okay, for example, for root. Okay, whenever you are giving a for root, whatever, this is the parent routes actually. Okay, this is the parent component, app routing module.ts. Okay, so for root routing module, you will be using something called for root. These routes will get attached to this router module, and the router module which has these routes is being exported. Okay, and whichever the child component is again importing this routing module, okay? For example, these will again import this router module, and it will not create a new routing module. It will import the routing module, and it will again append these routes to the existing routing module. Did you get it? So routing, first for root is basically used for creating one routing module, and it will append some routes. Next for child, what it will do, instead of creating a new router module, it will be keep on appending the routes for that particular router module. That's the meaning. That's why we will give the imports as well as exports. Any doubt?
No, Anusha.
Okay, that is the meaning of it. There is one theory called lazy loading, one concept in basically in Angular. Imagine we'll take our website on page website. Which website I can tell you? So imagine, okay, we have one login button here, and we have also another login for admin, and we have also one more login for one more users. Okay, there are three kinds of buttons. Okay, imagine that. And if we click on particular login, a different dashboard will be shown. You know, right? Whenever we log into a banking website, one dashboard will be shown. Am I correct? So imagine if I log in into this website, okay, if I log in into this login, a different website will be shown. If I log into next button, a different dashboard will be shown. If I log into another button, a different components will be shown. Okay, so what will happen by default? We will be giving like this, right? Path and then component, children, and then path and the component. We will be giving something like that, right? Children, path, and the component, path, and the component. What happens by default, all the modules will get compiled, and all the modules will sit in the browser size. Suppose if you just, you know, right, how to inspect the code. We'll just go to the developer tools, and we can just check. If you want to search any file, okay, you can just give the sources here, and you can search the relevant file name. For example, app.component.ts file, like that. Okay, let me just show you. Give me 2 minutes of time. Okay, if you go to the sources tab and check, right, all the components will get rendered here. Okay, whatever components were there. I don't know whether my office one has the access or not. App.component.ts file. You are able to see, right? App component is loaded and the entire code you will be able to see. Then what components we have? Child component. Child.component.ts, which means that all of the modules got rendered here. Okay, you will be able to see all the components. Okay, in this case, what will happen? Imagine there are thousands of modules in an application, and all the 1,000 modules will get rendered into the browser. And what will happen? There is an overload on this browser, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
Able to understand. So if we are loading some 1,000 components in the browser will be overloaded, right? So we can tackle this issue by the concept of lazy loading. What will happen? So all the components will render chunks by chunks, will compile chunk by chunks. Okay, and suppose the starting module will be loaded first. Okay, and if you know it's a different module, this button will contain a different module and this button will be a different module. If I click on this button, instead of loading all the modules, okay, the module which is related to this login only will get loaded in the browser, and you will be able to see only those source files. Suppose if I click only on this button, the module related to the particular buttons will get loaded in the browser, and you can see what app component, whatever component source codes here. Okay, this concept is known as lazy loading. Everybody understood, or it's little bit confusing?
Little bit confusing.
Okay, imagine there is an Amazon website. Okay, amazon.in. Okay, you know what? This might have been built using some 60-70 components. There is one header which might be one component. Okay, you see this list displaying, it will be a different component. Okay, and this is one different component. Okay, and even you have these categories, right? If you click on this will be a different component, whatever you are able to see. Okay, and if you click on this, it will be a different component again. Likewise, there will be thousands of components in your application, okay, in one single source code, which means to say that in this entire, imagine there are 1,000 components. When you are directly loading your component using ng-serve, right, all the modules will get compiled. When you load the application here on the browser, right, all the modules code you will be able to see here in your local host. You're understanding? All the 1,000 component files you can check directly here, which means that all the components were compiled and they are sitting in the browser and you can check them. Okay, so what I wanted is, I don't want all the code to be compiled. Instead, I want only the required code to be compiled, which meaning required code to be shown in the browser and loaded by the browser. That can be done by using a concept called lazy loading. Imagine you are clicking on this. Okay, imagine this is a different module which contains a different components. This is a different module which contains a different components. Okay, if I click on best sellers, only the components related to, so imagine only 50 components were related to best sellers out of 1000 components. If I click on this best sellers, only that 50 components will get rendered in the browser and you will be able to see them in the sources tab. Okay, suppose if you click on new release, again 50 components only related to this new release. Okay, when you click on this button, only 50 components will get rendered on the browser and you will be able to see. Suppose if you are checking one component which is related to Fire TV and you haven't clicked it and you haven't loaded those components in the browser, you will not be able to find them in the sources tab. Okay, here like this, Control P and search whatever file you want. You will not be able to see them because those files were not loaded to your browser. This concept is known as lazy loading. That can be done by instead of giving a path, something like that. No, what I am telling. 1 second. So instead of giving like path, this path, load this component, path, this path and load the component, what you can do, you can give something called load children. Okay. You can give something called for this path, okay, decision path. Okay, you can give something called load children. So whenever you click on this, whenever you are navigating to this decision, right, then only this entire module will get rendered. Okay, these modules will not get rendered. What you are seeing bureau. Suppose if you are clicking on, if you are navigating the bureau, only this module will get rendered, but not this decision module. But in case of giving the path directly and stating the component, all the components will get rendered on the browser. Understood? Any doubts?
No.
So this concept is known as lazy loading. So if you see in this load children, you have given one path for module. If you see CI decision module, if you go, this is the name of the module. Okay. And if you go to this module and check, there will be some routes written in that. That's it. Understood?
Yes.
Suppose if you go to this bureau module and check, there will be some routes written to that. In this way, what we are doing, we are reducing the size on the browser. Any doubts, anyone? Ramana, Shilpa, Saujanya, Anita, any doubts?
No.
Okay. So this is very important concept which will be used everywhere. Okay. So giving the load children and loading the modules only when it necessary. This concept is known as lazy loading concept. Okay. And if you give directly path and the component, this entire components will get rendered at the first go itself. Okay.
Okay.
That's it, I guess. And the class, this is the last class. Okay. And hereafter from Monday, Rashekar will get touch with you. And you people have to maintain, have one mobile with some SIM cards, and you need to send them to Rashekar. Okay. They will be doing your profile handling and they will be uploading your resumes and they will be conducting interviews and all. Okay. So please
Okay.
buy mobiles and he will tell the details and all. You can ask him if you want. Okay. Yeah, but please make sure that you need to have one mobile with one SIM card. Okay. Please buy that. Any mobile is fine. And what any questions, any doubts? If anybody wants to talk about anything. No doubts? So everybody is clear of all the concepts, right? Just practice everything, okay? And there is one YouTube channel called Namaste JavaScript, where he will be explaining the concepts very clearly, all the concepts related to the JavaScript. Just watch them every day, revise your learnings, okay? And practice Angular. Angular will come only with the practice. As you see, everything you have to remember. Just if you want to create your custom pipe, it has to implement on pipe transform interface. So these and all you need to remember, and these things will come only by practice. Just project practice every day. What else? No questions?